Hey everybody, hope you're doing well. Let me know if you can hear me okay in chat. I had a weird thing. The Fleet Viewer promo was not playing the audio. Um, Real quick, everyone. Starlet says 5x5. There's Starlet. Starlet, I hope you're well. I miss you. I miss talking to you every day. That was one of the best parts of developing Fleet Viewer along with you. I was talking all the time. Um, that being said, hey everybody, a little bit of an impromptu stream today, and it was instigated by a conversation I had last night. We'll get to that in 1 second, but appreciate you joining me for a quick episode of Starjump Shipyard. Um, I am going to bring our good friend Execute into the chat here in just a minute. But first, before I brought him in, I wanted to go through some St. Jude stuff real quick, and then we'll bring our good buddy Execute in. Citizen Spooner in chat, hope you're well. Salute to you, Idris, Idris, Idris. That may be what we're talking about. Um, yes, I'm a little gainy. Okay, let me pull myself down. Thanks, Bingo. I actually was having a weird audio issue today, so let me just pull myself down a little bit. Bingo, let me know. Let me know how I'm coming in now. I should be a little bit better. I am close to getting my new mic set up, by the way, everyone. But real quick, as you all know, we are doing St. Jude Play Live. Ender has been at the Play Live Summit the last few days. I think gets back later today, but overall, it's been a really successful campaign for us, and we're only about 18 days into it. Excuse me. Um, as you see above, right up there, we have raised $7,440 in the last 18 days. We still have about another 40 days left of the campaign, and we're going to continue to push. So many of you in chat have done amazing things, both through donations for raffle prizes and then, of course, your generosity. It's right there, $7,440 worth of generosity. So, oops, real quick. Wait. I forgot to do something. Bear with me. Bing, there we go. I had to make sure it went out to all the socials. So again, just a lot of generosity there. Thank you very, very much. It goes without saying that we are really excited to be doing this year, and it's been a lot of fun. Want to do a big thank you, of course, to our raffle prize donators. You know who you are: GearCon, Bingo Winchester, Lazy Donuts, and James from Icon City, one who we are a partner of. Absolutely incredible donations for them for the raffle prizes for St. Jude. I'm going to be offering up some raffle prizes as well, including on our next episode of Starjump Station next week. I'll be offering up the first Starjump Fleet Viewer custom livery. That'll be a contest giveaway. But it's been going into the stuff. We did give away that 600i you see on screen right now, so that one it did end on the 15th. We are currently still having two active raffles. One is for the Drake Buccaneer from Bingo Winchester. Citizen Spooner donated $25. Citizen, thank you very much. Appreciate that. Absolutely amazing generosity. You just reminded me too that I need to pin to the top of the YouTube chat. BRD Alert donated $10 as well. Thank you very, very much, everyone. Oh my goodness, already getting donations in. Thank you both for that. I really appreciate it. Very, very generous of you. Thank you so much. We gave away that 600i on the 15th. We currently have a drawing for a raffle going for the Drake Buccaneer, donated by Bingo Winchester. You donate $10 towards St. Jude through our Tiltify link, and you can get a ticket for the Drake Buccaneer. Donate $100 through our St. Jude Tiltify link. $100 St. Jude donation gets you an RSI Polaris Corvette ticket. We'll be giving that one away on April 30th. After starting very much soon, like in a day or two, we'll have another raffle start. I forget which ship that is for, but we have a full schedule of ships coming up. Rage 1 donated $110 towards the Drake Buccaneer. Oh my goodness, Rage 1, thank you very much. Getting the double salute for that one. Coming out swinging. Rage 1 is coming out swinging. He said, hey, I'm coming in. I'm kicking doors down. We're going to get some donations going. Thank you so much, Rage. Appreciate it. You see everyone here. We have a lot of raffle prizes still to go. We have another RSI Polaris Corvette. We have a Carrack coming up in May. We have another Misfortune. We have Super Hornet starter packets. We have an Anvil Hawk, Hurricane, Gladius Valiant coming. We have 5 Starjump Challenge coins coming, and probably about 5 custom fleet or custom ship liveries for Starjump Fleet Viewer. So still a lot of raffles to get through. Really appreciate all your donations. That's incredible. Thank you, Citizen Spooner. BRD Alert, and of course Rage One for your donations. So appreciative of it. And one other thing, GearCon just cheered 100 bits. Thank you, Gear. Appreciate you. Gear's been on fire with that. Ruzi, thank you for that follow. The other important thing to note that I want to say before we get to our main topic today is none of this money comes to Starjump. It goes all to St. Jude. There's no pass through with Starjump at all. Okay, so just a heads up on that. You can donate with confidence. Okay, Ethnification. Hope you're well. Hope you're well. All right, everybody. We're going to swing over to bring our good buddy Execute in here. Bear with me as I bring up a few things and get ready for our guest. And I'll talk a little bit why Execute is in here chatting with us about this. So let's swing over. Everyone in YouTube, by the way, the Tiltify link is pinned to the top of chat. Pinned to the top of chat. Thank you very much. All right, let's bring Execute in. There's Execute. How are you, buddy?
I'm good, thanks. How are you?
I am good. I am good. So obviously this was a bit of an impromptu stream, and it was sparked by the kind of brief back and forth me, you, and Trispone had, and I'm sure you'll kind of speak to this on your streams as well. But there's a big elephant in the room that has some of us talking.
Yeah, very much so.
Well, let's talk about the Aegis.
I kind of think back to like last year, right? When they basically said shortly after Squadron 42 is released, we'll be releasing the Idris, right? That's words to that effect, right?
Yeah.
And the whole reason Algod and I went to England was we were basically told the game was coming, right? And about 2 weeks after we booked our tickets, they canceled the gala and told us it wasn't happening. And I was like, damn, right? So we went anyway because we were going to lose too much money on canceling the tickets and all that type of stuff. So we went anyway. We come around to now, if you kind of think about it, shortly after CitizenCon is kind of Invictus. If you think about it, they must have had people internally working on this. And they have been committed to that task, and therefore it is essentially been finished. And I think they're now kind of committed to releasing it. And I think the way it's going instead is possibly as the start of a hype machine for releasing Star Citizen version 1 and Squadron 42.
Yeah. I could really see it being a great kickoff for the Squadron 42 marketing campaign. And just getting that dialogue started, because CIG, when it comes to Squadron 42, they got two things they've got to deal with its release that a lot of game companies do not have to deal with. One, they have a playable alpha of another game that is in the same universe that has had up and down, so they got to deal with that albatross. And then the other thing is they have to deal with a 12-year conversation on Squadron 42 that they've got to sort of like reconcile with as they're now about to release. Center 55, thank you so much for that. Appreciate it. So they've got these two things around their neck. What was it, a year ago or 2 years ago that they released the F7A Mark I and the F8C, two ships that we thought weren't coming till Squadron, right?
Yeah.
And
I think again that if you work out the timeline, like it all lines up. They know 18 months in advance what the stuff is going to be. I just linked you a couple of images.
Bring
those up.
Grab those.
Bring them up.
And
I've been getting reports all day that are conflicting.
Let's talk about the kind of the high level stuff real quick for anyone who's unaware. There's while CIG originally said at SitCon, which we all know things change from their SitCon presentations, CIG said not last SitCon, the SitCon before that the Idris would launch with Squadron 42. Now a lot's changed since then, and in the recent 4.1.1 builds, is that the right one? Am I 4.1.1?
1.1.
Yeah.
I just call it 1.1.
There you go.
The 4, there's no point.
So with that, there has been two things going on. There's been a lot of people talking, but there's been probably more importantly, there's been a lot of leaked information that either hint heavily to the Idris being inbound or very much say there's a lot of Idris work going on at CIG. So starting from there, let's go ahead and pick it up. What's the kind of the first clue that says to you that the Idris may be coming? And I could share any of these images you've pulled up.
Yeah, so basically, I've been hearing conflicting reports over the last 24 hours. Like, I own an Idris and I'm in the PTU and I'm flying it right now, to people that then spawn in and they don't have an Idris, but they own one. So I'm getting conflicting reports. It's almost like they've selected certain people, but not others.
See, I have an Idris, and I'm curious if I do it, or is it just people that own Idris M's?
Well, it could have been like at the end, like at the start of a patch cycle, and they server patched it out too. Like they have the power to do that. So I honestly don't know, but I like this footage that you and I've linked to you, that you've seen, and that is very much someone flying an Idris.
And we'll pull that up in a minute.
Polished.
Let me ask you this. I got up on the screen here this image you sent to me, which to me is, out of all the stuff we've seen, and we've seen a lot. We've seen a lot of imagery. We've seen videos. We've seen all kinds of stuff. This one to me, though, is the most interesting. So Lazy Donut says, I own an Idris M, you lucky bastard, and it wasn't on his ASOP terminal. So it could be kind of a random thing, Lazy. But regardless, pull up this image, because this one to me is the most interesting. There was a lot of changes made to the Idris in terms of its performance, its speed, its armor, its cargo grid, its component mask, insurance claim times, which is one of the most interesting. And while CIG is constantly adjusting ships that we don't have access to for events and stuff like that, because I can confirm that in past events like Xenothreat and other stuff, the Idris has shifted its performance metrics because they are fixing it to work for that event. But we've never seen this many things get changed, including insurance claim times, which is bizarre for an event. Right?
It really is the type of thing you'd do if you were going to release something.
It really is,
yeah. There is a couple other little things there as well that go against it, actually, in some kind of ways. It can be taken either way. So there is a skin for the Idris that's labeled Fleet Week, but apparently all the other Fleet Week skins in the code are labeled as red and black. And this one is clearly some kind of just white over the top of the base gray, essentially.
Yeah. Samuel on YouTube says, did you all catch what Richard Tyrer said at CitizenCon about 1.0 and more than 5 systems dropping, or you all missed what they said as content creator? Well, Execute was there in person, and I watched the presentation at least 50 times, so we're pretty well aware of it. Yeah, we know all about 1.0. But yeah, so...
Does that remind you of the Dolvine skin for the Reclaimer?
It does.
The one that they had on, it looks like it's
similar. It's very similar. But this to me then goes into the big thing that obviously I everyone knows I won't shut up about, which is the redesigned Idris and Javelin from the Squadron 42 demo. Do you think that CIG could be letting this information about the Idris that we've been getting sort of filter out now, get that sort of diehard player excitement rumbling, and then they could surprise us all with an exterior update? Because again, I don't think the interior, I think the interior is exactly the same, plus the changes they've made to it, because they got to keep all that for AI pathing and everything for Squadron. But from an exterior standpoint, do you think they could surprise us with a new exterior design of the Idris? This skin here kind of throws something like that into doubt. But do you think that we are not getting that new Idris exterior?
It's fortunately you brought a Mark 1 and they're going to bring that. No, as you're going into the kind of final leg of any game, you are doing a lot of polishing. You know, you enter that kind of crunch period. I don't think they are crunching right now from the people I've talked to. They are kind of taking their time a little bit. And yeah, it's common. How many times has it been updated over the years, Grim? I'll throw it back at you.
The
It's been
Idris,
heaps.
a lot,
Yeah, the Idris.
a lot.
Yeah. So I
Um,
just put it down as another update.
yeah, and you can see here, everyone. People have spotted the Idris M in their ASOP terminal. Now, not every player has, but some players have. So, and I want to preface to everyone because I do see some people in chat saying things like Dayron over on YouTube says, Grim, they stole the Idris from the ambush missions. They never called it in. So I've watched many people play the ambush mission. Yep, you can easily steal the Idris. What we're talking about here, though, is more about obviously everything we're talking about is speculation. We have, at least I have not been told from anyone, hey, get your hangar ready. The Idris is coming, like any sort of dev or anything. But taking into account all these changes that are coming in, I think there's a lot to take from this, especially the insurance claim timer stuff. It's also, again, going back to the F8C and the F7A Mark II, it's not unprecedented for CIG to change their plans and release a ship that they long said was only coming with Squadron to the public, right? And
Yep.
at this
But
point,
also
yeah,
the
go ahead.
timing, like again, when everything takes 18 months, like every ship takes 18 months, you've got to realize that it was meant to come out at CitizenCon. It didn't. So they can't just kind of push that back. Like they were committed, so they had to keep working on things.
Right.
Yeah, they could have probably paused it, but it also needed to be done for Squadron, which is
Well,
coming out next year. So they'll
and
stuck between a rock and a hard place.
and probably to some degree, they've got a bit of a schedule, and they're trying to keep that. And while you're right, they could pause ships. I think they only pause them, honestly, at least from what I see. It seems to be ships get paused when the gameplay's not ready, and the Idris
Yep.
obviously it kind of stands outside that.
I think
But
the Idris has also fundamentally been built differently from every other ship in the game, where a lot of
yeah,
ships went into the pipeline. This thing started before the pipeline ever existed. So
right.
it's just been alliterated on and changed. It's almost got its own pipeline because it's just so drastically different from anything else. It's
Yeah,
essentially the hero ship of the entire Squadron 42 campaign.
I I don't
Yeah.
know if you know this, Execute, but in the past, when CIG has shown off the Idris and Javelin, almost like in any sort of depth. Now, this was years ago, but it was always a particular developer that was walking through that. It wasn't John Crew; it was Nathan Dearsley. Like if you go back to those, Idris sort of sneak peeks and
Yep.
stuff from 2018 and all that, it was Nathan Dearsley walking through that, and it was obvious he was extremely close to the Idris, knew the inside and outs of
Yep.
it. Same thing with the Javelin and stuff. And
Well,
while John, I think,
another
probably oversees all that, do you think that's kind of pocketed to Nathan's team still, maybe? Because I think he still works there. I
I
don't know.
I think it is because he actually designed the original Avenger Titan,
Mm,
the little ship, the Penguin,
yeah,
and I think that was probably a test bed for what a lot of became the Idris later on.
yeah.
So he definitely started out doing ships, and yeah, as far as I'm aware, he still works there. I saw him at CitizenCon.
Did you? Yeah.
Yeah. So
And same thing when on that one video, there's that popular video that's out there from CIG from a few years back, or quite a few years back at this point, called "The Capital Ships of the UEE." They highlight the Javelin, they highlight the Idris, and I think they talk about the Bengal a lot. Again, he was the developer talking about them. Now, obviously, John has kind of rose the rakes there over this point, but I still wonder if those ships, because there's so much legacy code in them, are still sort of his babies. Maybe I don't know. Um, but
yeah, well,
yeah,
again, it was built at a time that was when they didn't know what they were doing. Essentially, they've kind of had to build the ship pipeline over years.
yeah,
And as I said, the Javelin would have been one of the very first ships that ever started development, along with the Gladius.
yeah.
Just built
We've,
different.
and I'm going to bring up real quick, everyone. This here, obviously, the image from the Squadron demo from this year. Obviously, you see a pretty significantly different Idris exterior. Now, some Javelin engineering screens have leaked out over the past month or two that do show engineering screens within the Javelin that show the holographic rendering of the new Javelin exterior. So it's we're in this kind of weird place where we don't know exactly, like, for example, even if they brought the Idris to the PU, they still technically could bring it over as is with the quality of life changes that have been made. bring it over as is with the promise that, hey, when Squadron comes out, all of you that have Idrises are going to get this exterior upgrade. You know what I mean? Because we're still kind of working on it or refining it. They could still do that. I don't think there's any sort of like rules that they have to follow with this. I mean, obviously they could kind of do whatever they want. They have upgraded ships to, upgraded ships that people already owned. I can think of ships like the Retaliator and stuff that once you own it, you get the upgraded version, obviously. So that wouldn't be without precedent either. I think that one of the other things I wanted to highlight, actually, I'm going to bring it up here, is that Idris has received a lot of interior work that coincides with the PU typically. One of those is, and you can kind of see the images here, you can see navigation signage being put throughout the corridors and all that stuff. It did have some already, but more has been placed throughout the ship. CIG, please go back and do the same to Polaris. But regardless, they have been doing some of that. You can see some of that signage very clearly marked here. They've also added contextual buttons to certain things now. They didn't have that before. Go ahead.
I was going to say there are some things that does talk against it coming though as well. There are lines of code along the lines of the Morrow tour, and some people have speculated that means that there could be. We do know there's an Idris tour coming for Invictus. It is actually in the code, and that tool could be run by Morrow. And if you don't know who Morrow is, there's a really old, essential YouTube video released by CIG, which was showing them how you first go through the ship, and there's a guy on board the ship called Morrow that gives you the tour of the ship.
Yeah, and again, just to preface for everyone in chat, we're not saying the Idris is coming. We're saying there's some hints that it could come. Just like Execute said, though, there's also hints that it is not coming, right? And obviously we need to all temper expectations, but I don't think we're wrong to speculate here when we look at the just the absolute dearth of Idris updates and leaks that have filtered into the 4.1.1 patch. We got a few of them a little bit earlier in the year, but it's not like CIG needed to bring these to a live build anytime soon. Now, it very well may be just a case of, hey, we're doing the Idris experience during Invictus. We're bringing over our latest internal Idris work to the game for this event, and that's just where the ship is at. With the changes you see on screen and the interior rework stuff. Art just donated $20 towards the Drake Buccaneer. Thank you very much, Art. Appreciate you. Love the donations, everybody. But so it could have just come over from that. Absolutely, that has happened before. But there's some odd changes here.
Lazy Donut said in chat that Idris is coming. Yes, it is coming. It's just a matter of when is it coming. That's what we're trying to figure out. Are you not keeping up here, Lazy Donuts? It's fine.
But here's a question. Let's just set aside all the updates. Let's just ask the question: what benefit do they have bringing the Idris out for Invictus? Like, let's say they do plan on handing it over to backers. What's the benefit to CIG there? Let's maybe discuss that a minute.
I think it's really obvious, and it's the Polaris, because right now all you ever see is Polaris versus Polaris battles. All these orgs have just got together and they're dominating. So if you can have something else that can do that, and then on top of it, it's got more fighters. I reckon it'd be really interesting to see two Polarises take on an Idris and just see what happens.
Yeah,
I think they're realizing that they're seeing so many Polarises going around. Like, let's chuck another ship out there and see how it goes.
So, Kef, Diggable, and others are saying money. And look, CIG is a business; they need to be making money. Absolutely. So that definitely could be it. I do think the last time we checked the current funding status, they're actually trending above where they were even the last 2 years. So I don't think money is an issue right now. However, one thing I will caveat on that is all the funding they've been doing for the past several years. I think the past 3 or 4 years, they've been doing like gangbusters on funding. And I think that has been good, and I think that's been tracking really well. However, if they are moving into a position where Squadron 42 is going to be releasing next year, and this is pretty important to Star Citizen, by the way, because I work in this field, and they're about to shift. Glee, thank you for that resub. If they're about to move into a phase where they've got to start marketing Squadron, I'll tell you right now, marketing is expensive. You have to do what's called media buys. Those media buys are contractual agreements. There's a lot of money tied to them, and there's specific dates tied to them. Okay, I live and die every day by media buy dates and contracts in my field in television and film. And if those media buys are starting, they need to bring in not just the same amount of money they brought in the past. They need to bring even more because marketing's expensive, and they're going to need to have extra money to fund the marketing for Squadron because remember, this is important. CIG does not have a publisher. Usually game companies rely on the publisher to do the marketing campaigns and push that budget, so they're not going to have that now, right? So
it's why you see a lot of games come out and they're kind of broken because they're contractually obligated to release stuff. So one that's really common that happens quite a lot is a company makes a deal with, say, NVIDIA or AMD, and that game will be sold with the video card. One that I can think about famously that's happened a few times now is the company that makes Dark Tide. They're called Fat Shark, and they really had to release Dark Tide way too early, and basically they spent the next 2 years fixing it. And they're still kind of fixing it now. And that's happened with the last 3 games they've made. They've had to release them like 2 years too early.
Yeah, and you know, there have been developers that can like push back on that, like the Blizzards and stuff, but you really do have to be a massively successful company to push off the release of a game. And and you do take a financial hit because again, there's contracts in place for this stuff. Rico says, question, Idris is hull limited. How will this affect CIG sales? Let's assume that for a minute real quick. This is a hull limited ship. If it is to go flight ready, let's just assume we're speculating wildly here, but if it was to go for sale or flight ready, how do we see a hull limited status affecting sale? Do you think a ship stays on hull limited status if it goes flight ready? I guess it does because we have ships that do that now, the 890, right, and the Phoenix.
Yes. Yeah. That's exactly correct.
But here's the thing, that doesn't hurt future sales, by the way, because when people see people actually owning the Idris and flying it around in verse, they may be apt to buy it at IAE or you know.
They don't have to. So one of the things I've learned through doing the Fix My Fleets is some people can just not imagine what a ship is like.
Yeah,
they don't have that ability to read the things and kind of work out the gameplay in their head or in any way, shape, or form. So until they see it, they can't purchase. But the other part of that is obviously the price going up. Statistically, it's 10 to 20%. So that would see this going from 1,500 to 1,650 or up to 1,800.
Yeah,
in that ballpark. Unless it's an outlier like Hull C that jumped an insane amount of money.
I think CIG quickly realized how much of an upsetter the Hull C was going to be to the economy balance, and was like, oh, okay, this, Samuel says here, question. It says, is it a massive It is a massive test. Idris is a test so they can work on some of the more advanced server mesh. I don't think the Idris is necessarily required for them to work on server meshing. I mean, they have the Polaris; they could easily do that. But even then, what you're talking about, I think, for the bigger ships especially, and I know Execute, you've noticed some of this starting to poke into the game here and there, is things like interior ship culling and things like that.
It's really required for the bigger ships, like drastically. So you'll remember the time the 890 Jump came out, and they had put all this like fine china and glasses and all that stuff. And when it first spawned, it was dropping all that onto the ground because the game just couldn't hold it with the physics and all that at one go. So they really like to put all the detail in there that they want to put in there. They really do need the culling, not to mention how much it's increased performance for us as well. Like these are some pretty detailed flying levels.
Yeah, exactly. And, one thing I will say, actually Starlet just said in chat, the quantity sold is kind of unknown right now. Yeah, it is. We don't know the exact numbers. We know some of the money bumps they have on some of those sale days, but there's also other ships being sold too at those times. So it's a little hard to know the exact numbers. But one thing yeah, go ahead.
I would average the first wave was 100 when they first sold these things. I'd almost think every wave was 100.
Yeah,
and that's only like you can still say it's a guess, but if you go back and look at all the years where they did waves, I think you could roughly figure out how many were sold.
Yeah. Abdi Johan, hope you're well. Salute. Nice to see you. Akidianyani, hopefully I said that right. It's a mouthful. Any news on the Kraken? Nope, no news on the Kraken. No new code strings for it. I check all the time.
I've got a little bit of news about the Kraken actually.
Tell us.
If you own one, chances are you're going to get an Idris as a loaner.
Yeah, that's true. That's actually
I'm technically correct. I know I am. Anyway.
Yeah, that is a good point. Another ship that could be a Kraken loaner could be the Ironclad. Now, I think it would be in conjunction with other ships, but for those of you curious, yeah, I could see the Ironclad also becoming part of that.
Yep. So also the Javelin would obviously get one as well.
Yeah. So let's talk about another thing. Again, we're talking about speculative clues here surrounding the Idris. Here's a big one that hit me pretty hard in terms of like, oh, maybe the Idris could be coming, because I'll be honest with you, I was pretty pessimistic towards it. Even when we were talking a little bit last night, I was like, I don't know, you know what I mean? But here's another interesting thing, and I have the Idris up on the screen right here. We have just recently added, I think in the latest 4.1.1 build, is the size 10, I think it's the size 10 Hurston Dynamics, or maybe it's Bearing, size 10 laser beam weapon for the Idris, the one that comes in the K kit.
There's also a bunch of new torpedoes as well.
Yep.
But we went over when we talked about the MX. So yeah.
And this is interesting to me. I could totally see a lot of the changes that we see with the Idris coming over if they're doing the Moro tour, or if they're just bringing over the latest build of the Idris M, right? The UEE military Aegis M, right? The one that I assume will be on tour. But I'm very surprised to see not only the K-Kit assets come over, but also, for the first time ever, the Idris P got an actual ship listing build. In the most recent data mine. And what I mean by that is now it's not just labeled as Idris M or Idris. There's an Idris P version, and people have data mined the model, and there is no weapon mount on the front whatsoever. It's just the Idris with no weapon mount. I've seen that image somewhere. I didn't save it, but I have seen it. So that to me was like a big, oh man, what are they doing? Why would those files find their way over? Because I can't imagine that the size 10 laser beam weapon for the K kit has any sort of dependency with the Idris M. You know what I mean? I don't.
It really depends how hard they want to go. Do they just want to put one in that kind of keeps it a bit balanced, or do they want to chuck all of them in?
Yeah.
Because the other thing is, like, you put in a rail gun, like you'd have to imagine that that's going to really overbear the Polaris.
Yeah.
But say, for example, when they eventually put the Kraken in, and then all of a sudden they give this the rail gun, that makes a lot more sense all of a sudden. So maybe they are like testing the water, so to speak. And it allows them to roll it out in, a bit more modularly and a little bit more balanced.
Yeah. I'll say this too. While an Idris M would be great, I'd love to have one. I do not own one. I do own an Idris P with a K kit though. And I gotta be honest with you, I'm actually more excited for the size 10 laser beam weapon than I am the railgun, only because if the laser beam weapon is anything like these concept images of it, I think it'll look cooler. To just shoot some big, continuous laser beam that probably stays up for a few seconds versus the railgun.
I think we've just worked out the name of Grimm's laser Idris. Everyone, it's the butter knife. That's what I'm going to call it.
Yes, exactly.
Or the hot knife through butter or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah. But let's go back to that discussion we were having in regards to the why they would go on sale with this thing. Again, I go back to that marketing push, and I know that a lot of the CIG financials came out, was it just recently? And I've watched a bunch. I'm pretty stupid with like financial reports, but based off of what I could read through and what I looked at when I watched a lot of content creators kind of break it down, content creators that I feel like have a good handle on financials, it looked to me that like CIG's in good standing. Obviously, those financials didn't take into account some major portions of the business, but it seemed like they're very much good standing. Their funding is still on track. But again, you go back to that funding, they're ahead of where they were last year and the year before, which is great, but they're not ahead by like leaps and bounds. They're ahead by a decent amount. Maybe it's 3-4%. And they've got a lot of overhead right now with their new Manchester studio and all that. The money for that marketing campaign's got to come from somewhere. And while I'm not saying the Idris is going to do that, again, it's a whole limited ship. They can only sell so many. I can promise you that if this ship does go flight ready, like if it comes to backers, they will have a big Idris sale to go along with this, even though it's hull limited. There may be the 3 waves, or maybe they'll do more waves, but they're going to sell the ship. We didn't get to see that with the Polaris, although the Polaris at one time was hull limited. I can't remember how long, but it briefly was hull limited, right? The Polaris back in the day.
Yeah, it was, but there was a lot of what do you call it, gray market trading going on that was just insane, because they offered like really cheap CCUs and limited numbers of them, and they sold out instantly. And then literally the next day, those cheap CCUs were up on the market for like 10 times the price. So they knew they'd stuffed up. I think for me, I would like to know, not a number, because obviously they don't like to share that stuff, but a percentage of how many people bought this ship after it came out, as in the Polaris or this one, just to
have a bit of an understanding of what that looks like. Everyone here, I'm just playing in the background. This is the kind of the side by side of the 2023 Squadron trailer versus the 2024 one. This one from just last SitCon. Again, you can see the massive amount of changes, not only just in everything from color correction and grading, but to the camera moves and the volumetrics and spacescaping and all that kind of stuff in here. But obviously, when it pans over, you'll see the major differences between the Idris and Javelin. The Idris interior, I think, we know that CIG said that there was going to be, that the ship need to be brought up to PU. I don't want to say PU standard, but brought up to like what's required for the PU. Based off what we've seen with the Idris so far and in events in the past, what do you think the Idris needs to receive for it to be brought up to like PU standards?
Yeah, it's a little bit like what Andy keeps going on about with the signage and stuff like that. That was a really obvious oversight. And I think it doesn't have a lot of color coding or anything like that. I know Badgers went on with a lot of that stuff back when we did a lot of shows with him. He'd always say like modern ships were really easy to navigate. You could essentially be blindfolded and open your eyes anywhere and know exactly where you were. Because of the color coding. And the only one we can really use as an example right now is the Polaris. You'll notice how gray and drab it is. There's no colors, you could be facing into a fairly small area and have no clue where you are. And I would fear that the Idris would suffer a bit from that as well. So it's something I would hope that they would address sooner rather than later. But let's again be honest, it's also not a priority. It's something that you can come back and fix at a later date rather easily. And what do you get for it? You don't, like, if you know your ship well, you can navigate it, right? So it's not really needed. It's a nice to have. I think though the thing I'm kind of realizing with this year, the whole thing about them going back and kind of polishing the game up, is you can't have Star Citizen sitting here like this heavy weight around the neck of Squadron as it releases. Like it's got to be at least at a polished, more a more playable state, or at least in a good state, so people can look at it and go, oh, okay, so this isn't so bad, but it's unfinished, but at least it's stable and looking fairly good. And then then Squadron comes out and Yeah, I think Squadron
Well,
is going to be interesting though because of the Half-Life comparisons. I'm hearing a lot of that stuff from the devs. So yeah.
well, and also too, you get some. Let's say you release the Idris this year, and let's say it doesn't come
Mm,
out during Invictus. Let's say they bring it out at IAE, whatever. But regardless, you
mm,
release the Idris before Squadron comes out. You
mm,
do kind of get this like built-in good press because suddenly you have articles
mm.
coming out. CIG releases ship 12 years into development. You know what I mean? It's like
Yeah,
such and such ship finally comes out again. I think that there's some value there, and that CIG would probably be considering that a win.
yeah.
Again, leading into Squadron. And then, like
There's
you
multiple
said, there's
devs.
no reason to say they can't do updates to this after the fact.
Well, there's multiple devs that have said they're really interested to see. Like they said, well, they're specifically talking about me and Agra, but they said they're really interested to see what like how we react to ships and stuff that are coming this year, and they've basically said we'll be eating really well this year for ships, so to speak.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, I
and
remember that's what you said, and you can sort of see that just from the
yeah,
silhouette video of what's being worked on this year, not necessarily being released,
yeah,
but what's being worked on. It's a lot of ships,
yeah,
and I think you've safely said I think that's probably represents only half of what is coming.
yeah. Well, look at what we've already had in terms of like things like the Golem and the Geo. They weren't even on there.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah,
and we are on a precedent right now of one ship a month at the bare minimum.
yeah.
And
Which means we're
you
due
kind
for
of
an
work
April
that.
ship.
Yeah, well, again, they've all kind of came at the end of the month, and 4.1.1 is not out. Remember that.
Yeah,
So when 4.1.1 drops, I'd be expecting some kind of ship to come with it.
yeah.
Um, and what that'll be is no one's guess. There are some new stuff in the leaks if you've gone and looked there as well.
There
I
are.
don't know
Yeah,
how if you want to go. I don't know if you want to go into those ships, but
we could talk about
there's
them.
some a very interesting one. I think if you want to talk about one specifically, we don't really know exactly what it's going to be yet. But sorry, someone's messaged me. But you've got the Anvil Asgard there, right?
Yeah,
And I I think at its simplest form, we can tell it's some kind of heavy transporter that's military based because it's based off the Valkyrie. But I also think of the Paladin being thing, and I almost wonder if they've essentially taken the armor look off the Paladin, chucked it on the Valkyrie, and just got it right now. It's an armored transport.
let me ask
And
you
then
this. And by the way, I do see in chat a few questions regarding the Idris. I have highlighted those. I'm going to get back to those. By the way, everybody. But on the Asgard, real quick. I know that there is supposedly some evidence that it's a Valkyrie variant. I couldn't find anything that ties the two together. Is it possible that the Anvil Asgard is this from the silhouette video? And we're all just
um,
reading into it the wrong way. Is there any reason it couldn't be a version of the Centurion or Spartan or Ballista or anything like that? Because we know one of
so
these
for
is
the
under development.
so multiple people that have looked through the code have
Okay.
essentially said that it's got exactly the same stats to the Valkyrie.
Oh,
Like
they've
they
found
with
the
high
stats. Okay.
similar thrusters and all that type of shit. Yeah.
Oh, okay, cool. I didn't find any reference to any
Mm.
stats, so maybe they found something I didn't. So very possible.
Yeah.
That's kind of exciting. I based off what I've heard, I agree. I think it's something Valkyrie variant related, but I was just wondering because we have that other vehicle slated. So um,
Oh,
we
interesting.
also have heard. Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, I just looking at some leaks from yesterday. There was a ship deleted. It has item desk, Aegis thruster fixed.
Yeah,
Hermes
Aegis
equals
Hermes.
Aegis. Interesting.
Yeah,
Now,
the Aegis
I'm just going
Hermes.
to throw this out there. Who's Hermes? Do you know who Hermes is?
No, familiar. Sounds familiar, but I don't know who it is.
He was, I swear he had
Something
something to
from
do with
history, right?
Hermes is the Greek god of commerce, thieves, travelers, and messengers. Now, I'm just going to put this out there. Do you know who Zeus and Atlas was?
Educate me. I mean, I know who Zeus was, but
yeah, but Zeus is the Titan suit in Squadron 42, and the Atlas is the utility Titan suit that we currently have in the game.
Yeah.
Hermes, being another Greek god, essentially, is the one of commerce, thieves, travelers, and messaging. Yeah. So he, you can see where I'm going with this, right?
Right.
He could be the really fast running suit I was talking about, essentially the scout.
Yeah, could be
Titan suit. So he runs really fast. So it's like a light combat Titan suit is essentially what I'm implying. And I even threw out the name Hermes when we talked about this in our formula, because we went through, I think on one of the streams, not even been one of your streams, we read out all. I was on, and it was on Pissball Pete's stream. We actually went through all the Greek gods and read through them all. And read what they did. And and when Hermes came out, I said, oh yeah, that could be a light scout. So that could be really interesting.
Yeah, that's
we'll
pretty.
Have to wait and see.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I sometimes I don't read enough into the names that they picked for these ships, but I know they probably put a lot of work into it. So, Tiberless says Hermes is better than herpes. I would agree with that. I did have a question here. I wanted to go back to. Let's see, where was it? Question from Crimson Hawk. Do you think the Idris P is going to be the current model and the Idris M will have the reworked model, similar to how the F8C looks as opposed to the F8A in Squadron? I don't think so. I think, I personally think that and I'm only basing this on Paul Shelley's videos regarding the history of the Aegis Idris from a lore perspective. It has received many upgrades over the years, but the basic shape of the ship has not changed wildly. There's there's no dialogue that the P is different from the M in any sort of way like that. It's more just more of an armament thing. So I don't think so. I think this goes back to, again, John Crew, or it was Ben Curtis. One of them said it on some video, and I really wish I could find it, or maybe it was a Spectrum post, but they made a mention that, and it was when the Polaris was coming. They said that the Polaris really upped the game of a lot of their big ships in terms of, they were talking exterior detail here, really upped the standards, and that it was requiring them to take a look at some of their other big ships and do some reassessments. Now, this again was all the way back when the Polaris was not even at the Invictus showroom floor, from early Invictus last year? But regardless, I have a feeling that comment was made because they were already knowledgeable that the Polaris was looking so good, so they were already going back and making updates to the Idris and Javelin. So I think it's just a new exterior. Now, when we get that, who knows? Hell, maybe they saved that for Squadron. I don't know, but I do think the new design is indicative of like a series wide rework of the exterior. So.
Can you see those links I sent you?
Let me. Yeah, stand by.
You might want to play those if you can. I know it's audio, but are you able to play audio on your stream? Or
I should be able to. They should be able to hear this. I'm going to play some. This is for the Anvil Asgard. There's some audio here. Here we go.
Deploying the Navy's heavy hitters to where they're needed most requires a heavy-duty transport, like the fleet's latest addition, the Anvil Aerospace Asgard.
So yeah, introducing it to carry things where they're needed most again. So into combat zones is what I read from that. Again, no specific mention that this is a ship at all. But again, I do think it's a Valkyrie variant. I'm just saying there's no
So these are apparently taken from the audio files of the the Invictus show floor.
Yep.
We've heard these in previous years, and it's the same thing with the next one we're about to listen to as well.
Let's listen to the next one.
I'm freaking out a bit right now. Saw someone on Spectrum saying their uncle regened and came back half human and half horseshoe crab. Like, yeah, I'm pretty sure that's not true, but I really don't know who to trust anymore.
That one's on the regen crisis. Was that right? Oh, no, sorry. I played the wrong link. Played the wrong link. That was a wrong one. Sorry, everybody. Sorry. Here it is. This is on the Greycat MTC. Let me play this one now. Sorry. Here we go.
Greycat has taken Snell's know-how and combined it with mil-spec hardware to bring their latest vehicle to the front lines with the MTC Mobile Tactical Center.
So yeah, the MTC, the Mobile Tactical Center from Grey Cat. I'll be honest with you. I think this is that silhouette from the video of the tracked vehicle got it up, and I'll be honest with you, as excited as I kind of was for the name Mobile Tactical Center, I think this is a mobile armory. That's what I think.
So there's two things I want to point out. I think there are variants because there's also a line of code for another variant called the was it the MXC or the MTX?
MTX. I can't remember. Yep, MTX.
Right. And when this first showed up as the Grey Cat Cav, it had missiles. MX, we know that a lot of the MX stuff stands for missiles, and we've also seen lines of code that talks about this having a tow ball. So I'm thinking it might be a tow vehicle for military stuff. Now that does all of a sudden make sense why you would have a Grey Cat military vehicle, because it's a utility vehicle. It's essentially a ground-based SRV.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
And one does missiles and one does the tactical stuff. Now, so I reckon one's more like a radar search one, and then one's got missiles. And maybe both of them tow, or only one of them tow. I don't actually know. I'm just looking at the lines of code that I see in front of me.
It'd be very interesting. By the way, everyone, thanks for hanging out as me and Execute speculate wildly here. We got 75 on Twitch and 180 on YouTube. Thanks for hanging out with us today. And let me do another St. Jude spiel. Don't forget, everyone, we are raising money for St. Jude right now. We have a lot of raffles up for offer. Currently, we have 2 going on right now. If you donate $10 via our St. Jude Tiltify links, which you can find there in the Twitch chat, or if you're over on YouTube, you can see it pinned to the top of the chat. That is a Tiltify link. If you donate there, if you donate $10 towards our St. Jude campaign, again, that money going straight to St. Jude, you can get a ticket for a Drake Buccaneer giveaway that we'll do on the 19th of April. So coming up tomorrow, actually. And we're going to start another raffle to replace that one. For a $100 St. Jude donation towards with our Tiltify link, that gets you a ticket for an RSI Polaris Corvette with LTI donated by our good buddy GearCon. That will be coming. We'll be doing that giveaway on April 30th. So get your donations in now. Again, that's 100% pass through. None of that money comes to Starjump at all. It goes to the Tiltify and to St. Jude Children's Hospital for kids fighting cancer to help them and their family. There's Erad in chat. Erad, hope you're well. Nice to see you. I sent Erad some 3D work for a project he's working on that hopefully will help him out. So,
well, with Erad. I haven't talked with Erad in a while.
Yeah. And then we have Guardian Imp. What is this next one here? This one
MX.
is
so this is the one that you and I call the Guardian Double Dog. Yeah. If for those that watch,
yes, stuff. But yes, yeah.
If you either know the joke or you don't, it's fine.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is another one from the show floor. So I think this kind of confirms that these 3 ships are coming for Invictus.
Yeah. And do you remember that image? I'll play this audio here in just a second. Do you remember that image that was released not too long ago that we were speculating, is it the Perseus or is it the Mantis fighter RSI thing? I actually think that was a close-up now of whatever the new Guardian is. That's what I think it is. But let's go ahead and play this real quick, everybody. This is audio file regarding the Guardian.
Sorry, hang on.
Yeah.
Are you talking about the one we were talking about last night?
No, the one I'm talking about is, let me see if I can pull that image up. It is of, do I have it? Does anyone have a link to that? I keep losing this image. It was a weekly sneak peek not too long ago. And it was extreme close up. Yeah,
of the engine area at the back. Something. Yeah, I agree with you. I agree with you.
Partially was thinking that might be the Guardian MX. But here's that audio file. Let's play that now.
When the battle calls for heavy ordnance, the Mirai Guardian MX proves you can never have too much of a good thing.
Again, referencing 2 things there. One, heavy ordnance, but then also referencing that you can never have too much of a good thing. So I feel like that's sort of hinting towards it being a missile boat or torpedo boat of some type where it carries a lot of that ordnance. So yeah,
like we speculated on. I think you can't unsee the fact that they've also put new torpedoes into the game. And once, like when me and Algrid were there with you, when you put the made the double dog essentially.
Yeah.
Like we got size 10 torpedoes and basically put them on the outside of the Guardian, and it lines up perfectly. I think the other one thing that I would show that kind of leads to that is if you've got the one from the blue silhouette image, the little pegs that you can see, there is no pegs like that on the other variants. And once you kind of see the pegs and you realize that they're torpedo racks, it's really hard to unsee it.
Yeah. This is that silhouette, everyone. What we think to be the Guardian MX. Obviously, some different form factors on this one versus the current Guardians. The Guardians, it's an interesting ship. Oops, one second. It's one of those ones where I do love it, and I see why people love it, but it's just not for me, the ship itself. However, you never know. Maybe the MX is the one. You know what I mean?
Well, the MX could also be the patch ship. Right, one of these, like the other way they could do it, for example, is that Grey Cat vehicle. You could have one that comes as the patch, and then one that comes at Invictus, or vice versa. So, any one of these could be the patch ship. We just don't know what order they're going to do it in. There's probably more than what they normally have at an Invictus. I think that leans towards eating pretty, and we've also got other ships that that they'll be totally hush hush on, like the Ironclad. They have said nothing in the monthly reports about that thing, but we know it. We know it's roughly ready around this time, and the fact that they're saying nothing is a real, you would say something if it wasn't coming. And the fact that they've said nothing, and it kind of tells me they kind of keep it playing it close to the chest.
That would be the biggest. That would actually be a kind of a big surprise to me if we don't see the Ironclad on Drake Defense Con Day. Anonymous just donated $10 to unlock a new toy for the kids at St. Jude. Thank you very much, Anonymous. Appreciate it. Whoever you are, salute to you. You have my respect. Yes, CRAD Execute is on the line with me right now on voice chat. This was an impromptu stream today, so I didn't have time to plug him in visually. I need to set Shipyard up better for that. But
it's all right. I've got no pants on, so it's all good. I can relax.
And you can expect, by the way, everyone, you can expect a lot of this kind of speculation as we're heading into Invictus. Usually before we head into any sort of big ship sale, obviously we're speculating a lot on ships. And next week, I think the plan is Execute and Trist will do an episode of Starjump Station, maybe something on their channels too. Sun Devil, thank you for that follow, sending the old javelin overhead. But we want to do a couple of streams for each of our channels, but I'll be trying to do one next weekend, and we'll probably be speculating even more on Invictus ships and having a wider discussion. Maybe there'll be more leaks before then. But again, this speculation, a lot of people like to speculate on this stuff because everyone looks at ship releases, I think, through different eyes. Some people just look at it as a ship coming out or a ship not coming out. Some people look at ships coming out as a sign of development progress, especially large ships. If you've ever been one of those people that just doesn't understand why the Polaris coming out is a big deal or the Idris coming out is a big deal, it's a big deal to some people because it's a metric that development is moving along, right? Soundwave's Ghost, who won our 600i actually last week, just donated $10. Thank you, Soundwave. Appreciate you. But for me, I look at any ship that comes off the backlog as being a big deal, right? Jabberwocky just subscribed. Thank you, Jabber. Sending the Kraken overhead, actually. Best ship in the game. So, there's different reasons for why people pay attention to the ship talk and the ship speculation, because it's one of our best indications sometimes for throughput by CIG devs, and it's probably not super fair to the ship teams because they're just one part of a much bigger company where there's a lot of moving pieces. But the same could be said for things like core tech features, for example, server meshing, and or when persistence came. Like, people look at those as metrics for development and how development's going. So
absolutely, it's one of the few things you kind of can judge the game by, because most of Squadron's been worked on this time, and we just don't have any gauge on that at all because it's all been hush hush.
And we know that there's a lot that CIG has finished behind the scenes that they just have put a pin in. You know what I mean? But we know work has been done on it. So
you can give examples of that. So like the Zeus Marky Mark, or the Marquee Mark II, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I call it the Marquee Mark because it's just too easy to do that. But that's obviously being completed when the other Zeus's was, but it's just sitting there waiting for bounty hunting.
Yeah.
The E1 is more likely finished as well, but it's just sitting there waiting for the AI stuff to come along.
Right.
Yeah.
And other things too. It was just the other day that I was talking about the Nautilus, and I pulled up those pictures of the mines that were being developed on an ISC. They were on a developer's screen as he's being interviewed for something different in ISC, and I'm sure that wasn't an accident that he had mines up. But again, we know the Nautilus is not in production now. That's not to say there couldn't be another mine layer in production, but we know that mine lane is not in the game yet. But there's still things like that that have been developed. They're just not out there yet. And
I just contact the people at CRG and I say, just put mines in the background. It really stuffs with Grim, and they're more than happy to help me out.
Yeah, it just messes with poor Grim. Just all I'm saying is Trispone was actually I jumped in his stream the other day. He was working on the Ironclad model a bit, and he was trying to figure out what ship he should model out to high fidelity. And I always go to the ships where their holo models are terrible, and there's 2 ships that have terrible holo models. One is the Starliner. It probably has the worst holo model of all of them in terms of it's just crappy. And then
concept rework done for that thing. So
yeah, and then the next closest one is probably the Crucible. Now I did a ton of Crucible work for my Shipyard video, but one ship that I am currently working on to do a much higher fidelity model on, because I'm doing a Starship or a Shipyard pre-recorded episode on, is the Nautilus. And I do love that ship. I do hope CIG turns back to it at some point. I think mine lane gameplay would be super cool. Could you imagine flying through the pyro jump gate, you emerge out of pyro, and someone has dropped a minefield there? Yeah, it'd be chaotic, but it would be kind of cool because unlike players, it would be interesting where you come through, you do an initial scan, you see if you detect any mines, which they're supposed to be hard to detect, but then you have to drop all your signatures to hide your, as much radiation as possible and see if you can slip through the minefield. I don't know. I'm just saying, everybody, I think that'd be pretty cool. So, yeah,
we've all seen episodes of Star Trek that have had the mines in it, like they're dragging mines. If you remember that scene in, I do think they will add something to the game, absolutely for sure. Same thing with the sentry turrets. Like we already kind of have sentry turrets around the stations, so you can vision those. They are definitely going to be an awesome gameplay feature when it's all said and done.
Thank you.
Real quick, Zigzag, thank you for that $10 donation to help unlock a new toy for the kids at St. Jude. Thank you very, very much. Appreciate those donations, everybody. One thing I want to go over real quick, going back to the Idris. The Idris, as you see here, has gone through. Oh, GearCon just donated $100 to unlock a red wagon for St. Jude. GearCon blowing it out, obviously, this year with some incredible donation prizes for our raffles. So GearCon, everyone give GearCon a big 07. GearCon has donated 2 RSI Polarises, a Carrack 600i, on and on. So big shout out to him. He's been a great partner in getting the St. Jude stuff going for this year. So awesome. GearCon. We are $7,735 raised, everyone, closing in on that $8,000 goal. When we crossed 7,000, Ender unfortunately had to sign up to wax his armpits live on stream, which will happen hopefully pretty soon. 8,000.
Wait. Sorry for him. We've got to watch that. Are you sick in the head?
I know. So you'll notice it's not me, right? So he set up the milestones, and the $7,000 milestone was when he crossed $7,000, or when we crossed $7,000. Again, we're raising money together. When we crossed 7,000, he would wax his armpits live on stream. I think when we hit 10,000, he'll shave his beard and everything. See, I don't set myself up for that.
That I would donate money for, but I think I'd want it for both of you. You've got to do you guys live near each other at all?
No, he's in North Carolina. We're pretty far away.
I'd want to see you shave each other's hairs and beards. I reckon that'd be funny. The full body wax. There we go. From head to toe, no eyebrows, no nothing.
Look,
just complete everything.
Ender thought for sure we would not hit $7,000, so he put the armpit waxing up there, and I told him, I said, I honestly, our community is awesome. I don't think it's going to have have any problem hitting $7,000, and we did that last week. So big shout out to our viewers and everyone that's donated. Again, Ender was at the St. Jude Play Live Summit just this week. He's actually coming back today, I believe, flying back, and that was really cool. They had a do I have it here? Actually, let me see if I have it, everyone. But they had a great image. He had a great image of him standing. Oh, yeah, here it is. Here's Ender standing next to the Starjump money raise sign there at St. Jude Play Live Summit. At that time, we were at $23,783 lifetime raise. That's over the last couple years here at Starjump. So very proud of that. He is there representing Starjump. That number is different now here. Going back to our full screen, we're now at $24,028. I think at $25,000 lifetime raise.
Was that Alan Tudyk? Was Alan Tudyk on that poster that was next to him? He didn't look too impressed with that number. He's like, rookie numbers. That number's so low.
I don't know who is it. I don't know who's this. It's a weird. Like it's Alan a weird Tudyk. Face.
He makes a lot of weird faces. Alan Tudyk could be him. Plays Wash from Serenity. Maybe I'm wrong, but it does look like him.
That could be him. So even just from this 2 days ago, we're already up another almost $500. So big thanks to everyone for that.
What number we got to get to for you to start wearing a pink hat?
Well, so the Pink Hat Squad is a group of content creators, streamers that have all pulled together, and they raise money as a team as well. Ender's part of that. I'm actually not part of the Pink Hat Squad. I may be like an honorary member, but I'm not formally a part of their group. But they all seem like great people. So I don't know them very well.
We need funny hat suggestions for Grim, and he's got to wear the hat for a month, like even to work.
Yeah,
I reckon that should be your punishment. Well, punishment. Your goal. I said that out loud. I said the quote part out loud.
Maybe we need some pink Starjump hats or something. But yeah, thank you everyone for the donations. Really incredible, really generous. Thank you so much. You're legendary people. And again, I'm just going to keep pumping out the content throughout April and May. And again, a lot of cool stuff. Planning to give away not only our raffles that were listed for ships and stuff like that, but I do have some Starjump Challenge coins. I will actually hold one of those up now. Right here, Starjump Challenge coins. Got in this case the nice little metal card. Got the little leather patch, and then there is the coin there. Really cool. It does represent our org. There's a lot that secret messaging kind of in the coin itself. We'll be giving away, I think I have 5 of those to give away, courtesy well, though not courtesy of, I bought them, but those will be handled by Angry PC Tech. And then I'm going to give away 5 custom Fleet Viewer liveries, so you can pick your ship, choose the colors, choose your logo, name the ship, all that cool stuff. We're going to be doing that as well. So a lot of stuff coming next week when we do Starjump Station, which hopefully Execute will be on with me. I'm going to give away the first of the custom Fleet Viewer liveries. So if that's something you've always been interested in doing, I will be doing that. And yes, I have gotten a lot of asks if people can purchase that. I cannot. It's an agreement with CIG lawyers to not sell anything or make money in any way related to Starjump Fleet Viewer and its assets. So I'm going to respect that. But I can do them as giveaways. They're totally fine with that. So that's what we're going to do. Real quick here, I wanted to swing over just for everyone who is not super aware when it comes to the Idris. The Idris has gone through a lot of changes over the years. This was the original look of the Idris. When did it change from this, Execute? This is probably in like 2015 or so that it went from this to the newer model. Maybe even earlier.
Well, if you brought up the image for everyone to see, then maybe we could see what you're talking about.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I was on the wrong screen. I failed. Dirt Divas called me out. He said, "Cam."
So that's a concept image. That's actually before they'd even started modeling it. You actually zoom in real quick, you'll actually see that it's actually hand drawn.
Oh yeah, you can see some of the painting work. Yeah.
So you'll notice it's this is back when it was a Corvette. So this is actually back when it was like essentially Polaris size. And so you can see it's definitely got a lot fatter. It's grown quite a lot. Especially in width, like it's easily what would say twice to 2.5 times the width now.
Easily, yeah.
And that's what before it even began.
So the Idris M, by the way, everyone, is the military variant. This was sold in very limited quantities early on in Star Citizen's production. You can still get it now, I believe, in a pack, right? You have to spend essentially $40,000. So,
I think it's. Oh man, I can't remember. I remember someone talking about the Aegis Complete Pack. Maybe I'm wrong.
yeah.
But there's one that's there all the time, and there's one that comes up. If I'm not mistaken, so it's actually it could be in two. But I am not the pack guy of the Infrunters. That is very
I'm not
much
either.
Argrid's domain. So do not quote me on any of that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do know you've got to spend a fair bit to get it.
Yeah.
Whether it's worth it or not is also debatable because you can clearly see they're designing an upgrade path for these ships. Like essentially
Agreed.
start with a P, you upgrade towards the K. It gives the org an entire thing to work out over time.
Right. Well, and even in just the tiered system for ships and ship manufacturing, there's nothing to say that a tier 5 Idris K it couldn't outpace a tier 3 Idris M. You know what I mean? So I think there's going to be a lot of room there to sort of make your ship its own. And I don't. And again, like I've said, I'm actually personally pretty excited to have the K variant with the laser beam weapon just for preference. But just so everyone knows, so there's the Idris M. Or go ahead.
I was going to say, on a side note, I probably wouldn't be surprised if they didn't come back to the Kraken and another variant to that. You got the privateer, but what other thing that could you turn that into? Could it? You see what I mean? Like essentially, it's just taking the cargo holder and changing what that cargo hold can do.
Yeah, I mean, again, I still think. I still don't know how hospital gameplay is going to even fit in Star Citizen, but to me, the Kraken would make actually the perfect hospital ship, but even more so than the Endeavor Hope. To me, the Kraken with the decks on top and the big spacious area in the belly, super easy for medical gameplay. But there are three variants, two variants of the Idris and an upgrade kit currently, everyone. So the Idris M is a unique hull that is the military variant. There's then the Idris P that is I don't know what the P stands for actually. Is it privateer? I don't know what it stands for.
It essentially loses the railgun.
Okay, yeah, but essentially loses the size 10 railgun on the front. Now, there's no imagery to support that, but like I said earlier, we finally got our Peacekeeper. Thank you, Lord. Thank you, dude. Appreciate it. So Idris P for Peacekeeper. It's right here. This version does not have that size 10 gun mount on the chin, and it has other changes to it, obviously from the M. I think some armor changes and armament changes, but they came out. There's also an Idris K upgrade kit, K upgrade kit that you can buy once you own the Idris. It unlocks in the store, and the Idris K kit brings with it. I do have that up right here. The Idris K kit is essentially a weapons kit, and it comes with. Do I have those specifications here? It comes with the size 10 laser beam weapon, 4-point defense turrets that replace the remote turrets, and a missile turret that replaces the manned turret. So again, some changes there, and there could be additional changes coming to the K kit. We don't know.
I was just going to say, I reckon you might even see some of those upgrades in Squadron. You start out with the P, and then you get a laser gun, and then you get a rail gun as you go through the campaign.
Yeah. So again, we have some variants, and that goes back to that whole thing that I was talking about. That to me is one of the most interesting parts of this discussion, which is, some of the K kit and P, Idris P parts and pieces and entities have been pushed to the latest patch. Again, that's not saying they're coming. It's not saying the Idris is going flyable, but it's very curious that the Idris P and K are mentioned at all at this stage, specifically because Invictus is a military event. So the ship that we're touring there and the ships that we generally interact with during events, when it is an Idris, it's usually an Idris M. Like we're not, we haven't, like for example, there's not going to be a Moro tour, a UE military tour of an Idris P. That's going to be the M model. So, yeah. What else? Anything else in relation to these two ships, to this ship, the Idris, and its possible coming to the PU sooner than we think to backers?
No, that's pretty much about everything that I can think of. From
I think we're going to know pretty soon here. There's no way they keep this quiet till Invictus proper, if it actually is coming. So Crimson Hawk says, do all Idris models have the big missile room, or is that only on the Idris M? I think it's only on the Idris M. I think, isn't there additional cargo in that space on the K?
I'm going to be honest, I'm not up with the Idris. It's not a ship that I was ever really particularly interested in. That would again be Algrid's domain.
Yeah.
We essentially chop a lot of stuff up between the two of us because as I've told you several times, the game's too big now.
Yeah. There's so much to cover.
Yeah. And we used to try to be really perfect about it all the time and try and be really accurate. Now we've just reserved ourselves to trying to find the truth. So if someone calls us on our bullshit, it's like, well, let's not sit here and argue about it. Let's just find out what the truth is. Because there's just too much to remember now. Yeah, and it's the way it's going to have to be going forward. Because it's only going to get bigger.
A couple people in chat say, the Idris P does lose the missile room for extra cargo. That's what I've heard. But look, that could have changed now. CIG could have looked at it and said, you know what, we're not putting a damn cargo room in here. It's going to be a missile room, and the Idris P gets missiles. It's whatever. So they may treat it like that. We don't know. So again, here looking at another image of the newer Idris exterior here. These are just images I have up. I'm not trying to push the new exterior. I'm just these are just images I have kind of handy. So everyone, I told you it would be kind of a shorter stream, and it is. I appreciate you all hanging out today. I do want to go over the St. Jude stuff real quick and execute. Really appreciate you coming on today and hanging out. Obviously, you can sit through this or not. It's up to you.
Real quick, we'll be going. No, I'll sit through it. We will be going over this and more on the Infronters later. Paul is joining me today, filling in for Algrid because he's off gallivanting. So
awesome.
I'll come out, hang out with me and Paul. I'll be about 7 hours from now.
Yes,
we'll be kicking off.
Everyone, if you haven't already, what are you doing? Make sure you go over and follow the Info Runners over on YouTube. Super easy. All you got to type is Star Citizen and Info Runners. They will come up for sure. Make sure you give them a follow. Valisov, thank you for subscribing 3 months in a row. And if you're over on Twitch, make sure you give the Info Runners a follow over there. Do I have the shout out? How do you shout out? Let's see. Let me see if I can do this. Does this work? Let's see. Yeah, there it is. Okay, shout out to the Info Runners. Make sure you go over there and follow them. They'll be streaming later today. I'm always in chat usually for those. Either I'm chatting or I'm lurking, but I'm almost always there in some way. Sometimes it's just me lurking as I do house chores with my earbuds. So, but real
I do the same when I watch shoes, so don't worry.
Yeah. But everyone, thank you so much. It's been an incredible day for St. Jude as well. Again, some of you really throwing in those donations today was really great, especially on an impromptu stream like this. So I give you my heartfelt thanks. We're really climbing the ladders here in money raised. So all of you that donated, thank you very much. If you do want to donate, again, you do not, if you win one of the ships or the raffles or the Fleet Viewer skins or whatever, you do not have to be in the actual giveaway show that we do that in. When you put your donation you're safe. As long as you put your donation in, you are in for that raffle. When we give the raffle away, you don't have to be watching at the time we do the giveaway to win. But make sure you follow those Tiltify links. If you're on YouTube, it's pinned to the top of chat. If you're on Twitch, I just posted it. Make sure you go there. Donate through our Tiltify link. We really appreciate it. There's going to be another raffle added tomorrow. Again, we have a whole schedule of these. I'm going to go back to this real quick and pull up that schedule. Nope, not that one. Yep, right here. Again, we have a lot of stuff coming down the pipe here. Anvil Hawk, Hurricane, Gladius Valiant. Carrick is coming up soon. We'll have another RSI Polaris in May to give away. So we have a lot of stuff coming and a few surprises probably that we haven't announced yet. But go ahead and get your donations in. Anything helps. It can be $10, $5, $500. It really does not matter. Share with your friends and stuff if they're interested in helping sick kids with cancer and their families. Again, remember when kids are being treated at St. Jude, they do not pay a hospital bill at all. So very, very important. And yeah, appreciate that. We have raised a total as of today's stream, $7,735. So continuing to climb up. Really appreciate that. Taking our total lifetime raise to $24,178. Really appreciate it, everybody. I'm going to send you over here. We're going to do a raid. We're going to raid, let's see here. Boop, 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 boop. Okay, I think I know who we're going to raid. We're going to send it over to our good buddy who was just on the yacht club last night, as usual. Met him in person a few times. Really great dude. Going to send you over to Sigelian. Execute. Thanks for being on with me, everybody. I'll probably be doing some Star Citizen gaming this weekend, and you can play the game with me if you want. I'll be in chat when I do it in streaming. So look for that. And then obviously I want to do a big Starjump station next weekend. That's kind of my big thing I'm planning. So for now, please give Sigelian some Starjump love when you go over there. Give him the 07. Tell him Starjump sent you. I'm going to have to bang off to work pretty quick here. But everyone have a great day. Do something kind for a stranger as always. And continue to push those donations to St. Jude. We really appreciate it. Execute. Thanks, buddy. Everyone,
no problem, mate.
Sending you on to Sigelian now. Thanks, everybody.
Bullet Man and Mill Shive, appreciate it.